Go to J. Mullins Jewelers and check out their collection of reactor watches. They're located at 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And also custom-made jewelry. If you want it, they can make it for you. Also gifts for any and all occasions. Weddings, graduations, family reunions, anniversaries, all of it. That's J. Mullins Jewelers, 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Yeah, I want to play you something. Connor, I want you to go ahead and start this.
Some ideas to go to the legislation to
This is Ms. Rosales
with TISA funding
with your Rutherford County School Board.
The way that the BEP versus TISA is changed, we do not get funding now specifically for transportation.
And I want you to hear
in
this.
The BEP compared to TISA. So I've gone to them to ask to make some modifications. There's no appetite right now with the current legislation, for whatever reason, I can't speak for them, to make modifications. I thank you, board, for allowing me to present the idea of bringing a foundation, and thank you for approving it. Thank you for Ms. Maxwell to helping and generate a board so that we can use it as a fundraising tool to allow other businesses to
Madam Chair, point of order.
No, I'm talking. I am talking.
We really are.
You do not.
Madam Chair.
What I'm saying.
Stop.
I'm talking. This is not a point of order.
Could you please just bring it back to
I am going to bring it back to you. I'm going to bring it.
Now, this is your Rutherford County
Yes,
School
because
Board,
we
and
want
your tax dollars in
Right now,
action,
we're talking
ladies and
about
gentlemen.
Let's cut parental zone, PRZ. But I'm going to be honest with you, Ms. Darby. You own a transportation service.
I do not.
You do not know. But I don't.
Ms. Rosales?
Wait a second. We do not know if that transportation service,
Madam
if there's
Chair,
Ms.
Ms. Rosales.
point of order that you're going that is a order.
Ah.
But I've received an email
Ms. Rosales.
from 2020 that
There you go. Order.
I'd like a recess, please.
Yeah, they want a recess. They did. I'm gonna tell you what, they darn sure need one. Thanks, Connor. You can cut that off now. Ain't nothing there to it anyway. This is Ed Raymer, the Evan Lee Raymer Show. Judy Whitehill's my guest, and that's not what we're here to talk about. The PRZ. I'm sure it may come up if some of you call in, but we are here to talk about books and books in schools and libraries and librarians, and I've got one of the best in the county right here. She was at it for many, many years, and she's retired now, so she can pretty well state within some limits what's on her mind, and we'll give her the grace of saying doing as she wishes, as she always does when she comes up here, and so Judy Whitehill's here. She's with us. She's going to be on the air in just a second. Connor wants you to kick us off, if you would, please. But for right now, my name is Evan Lee Raymer, and yes, I'm still a private investigator for now. Welcome aboard.
This is the Edwin Lee Raymer Show with your host, Ed Raymer, on your Good Neighbor station, News Radio, WGNS.
All right. And that is a little rock and roll, kick you off a little bit for it. I was talking to Judy just for now. Well, but don't get that bad here between me and her before this thing, like it did at the school board. This is the Evan Lee Raymer Show, and I'm your host, Ed Raymer. This show's produced in the studios, WGNS AM 1450, 100.5, 101.9 FM right here in the heart of the great volunteer state right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Now, you can reach us tonight. You can reach Judy at 615-893-1450. That's 615-893-1450. You can also send us a text to that number. And Connor, our producer on the board, doing a good job as always. We'll be glad to read it over there, or he'll write it down, give it to me, or Judy will read it. Now, how do you watch us? There's a number of different ways. First of all, Judy, if you'd help me explain to some of these young people, there's this rectangular device in the dash of your car. It's called a radio. And may have an on button. I don't know. To turn the computer off, you have to press the on button. So I don't know anymore how y'all do this. I don't know what's going on with these people, Judy, but you can listen on the old-fashioned radio, 1450 AM, again, 100.5, 101.9 FM, WGNS. Right here, we simulcast on 3 frequencies. Right now, we're on them. And my wife listens, for example, on Alexa. She doesn't watch on YouTube or Facebook Live. You can go to News Radio WGNS, and you can go and pull up all of my shows from the very beginning. Please don't go listen to the first couple of years. I listen every once in a while just to see how far I've come, thank goodness. And but at News Radio at wgnsradio.com. And that's you can pull that up on your computer or your car or your telephone, what device, whatever you've got. I don't know anymore. It's changed so much. And, again, you can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us live. All my shows are there for the last 2 or 3 years. And, we're on there live right now. If you want to go watch us, you can see our beautiful faces there. And you can download the WGNS app and take WGNS with you wherever you go. Listen whenever you wish. Angela Bingham just left, her and Angie Renee, and I thank them always for opening up. They do a great job with Simplicity here every Sunday at 6 p.m. and just doing wonderful work and, have been for a long time. She's been at this, I think, 5 or 6 years now. I can't remember. Not quite as long as I have. I'm soon will be going into my 14th year. And, she's just a wonderful person, and that's all I need to be surrounded by is just good people. And speaking of good people, Connor's here, but we've got another one, Judy Whitehill. And Judy, thank you for coming up tonight to do this.
My pleasure.
Thank you. I want you to give people your resume. Tell people who you are, where you came from. Okay.
Well, I was originally from Nashville. I moved to Murfreesboro in 1966. I went to the old Central High School, graduated in 69. Went to MTSU, got my degrees. I started teaching in Murfreesboro City in 1973 as a speech therapist. And then when Northville opened, I moved there to be a speech therapist for 3 years, and then went into the Library Media Center in 1990.
Right. Okay.
Then I left in 2002 to go be president of the Tennessee Education Association for 4 years. So I'm currently retired, but still very active. Someone said, you can retire from your position, but you don't leave your profession.
That's true.
And that's the way I am. I'm still very active, and I've become very concerned over the last couple of years with what's been happening, where they're trying to dictate what books would be in a library.
I know.
I have, we've always had a policy in the city system, and I know the county and other counties have policies, where if there is material that maybe a parent objects to, there's a process. The parent comes in and has a conversation. They can fill out a paper to talk about the book that they have an objection to, and then it can be resolved as simply as saying to the parent, well, if your child brings this book up, we'll just ask them to choose another book, and therefore the book stays on the shelf. If that doesn't resolve the situation, then we can always have a meeting where there's a couple of teachers and the principal and the parent, and everyone sits down and discusses it. And it's always worked. The process has always worked.
Right. Sure.
Just, it seems like in the last 4 or 5 years, there have been individuals who have had some type of agenda about removing books.
I know. I agree.
Yeah, the thing that is so disturbing to me and to other library and media specialists and much of the public is that there is no real rhyme or reason as to the books they're objecting to. No. There may be 1 or 2 words that they have been told is in the book, so they want the book removed from every library. This year, the Rutherford County School Board asked the library media specialist to read over 144 books. They were then to come back to the board, and the board was taking 15 to 20 books a meeting, and they were to report, or the report was given to the board as to the recommendation the library media specialist made on every single book. And I've been to many of those meetings, and I know we have a Rutherford County Library Alliance where people have been coming and listening and speaking. And the majority, unfortunately, of the 7 members have wanted to remove the books, regardless of the
regardless of what these
regardless of
opinions
the
are.
recommendation by the professionals.
By the professionals.
They want the books
And
removed.
this is your they're in your lane here.
This
is what you're a librarian.
Yes, the library media specialists, the ones who have gone to school. In fact, just recently, the board honored the library media specialists. It was Library Media Specialist Week, and they gave a report, and almost every library media specialist had multiple graduate degrees. It wasn't they just had 4 years of college. They had degrees in library media specialist materials. So
what's their reasoning they're giving for not listening? Because I find it hard to believe that a bunch of farmers and real estate agents are sharper than this. Not that they're all not sharp, don't get me wrong, but I really don't trust. I used to be in the insurance business. I can say this: I really don't trust an insurance agent against a qualified teacher or an educated person for doing this. What are they giving, Judy?
Well,
and I ask simply because I'm not trying to put you on the spot, because I know you go to the meetings. I've watched them on YouTube. Okay. So I get a sense of it, but some of them I think they're going against just to be difficult. Please explain.
Well, my observation is that the individuals who are objecting to the materials have not read them. It's one thing for me to ask you to read a book and give me your opinion, and then I just blanketly say, I'm not listening to you, and I haven't read it. I think that's what bothers me, is that closed mind attitude.
Right.
And sometimes it might be 1 word or 2 words that they object to.
Right.
And so rather than say, let's look at what the library media specialist recommended. Oh, they recommend that this only be for juniors and seniors, and sometimes they would recommend that the books even have to have a parent consent before the student's allowed to check it out.
Sure.
Which seems very reasonable, but at the same time, the majority, 4 of the 7, just say blanket statement, no, it's filth. We don't want it in there. And I really have a problem with that. Let me give you an example. My granddaughter is 8 years old. My son is in the military, and so currently they're in the Netherlands. And she was telling me that she was going to have to do a book report. This is in 2nd grade. And she said, Mimi, I'm nervous about speaking in front of my class. And I said, well, if you make sure you've read the book and you know what you're saying is accurate, then all you're doing is just basically talking to your friends about a book. You even might make them have their interest perked when they hear about it, and they may say, oh, I'd like to read that book too.
Sure.
And I said, I'm going to be speaking in front of a group of adults, and I said, sometimes I get a little nervous. And she said, well, what are you going to be talking about? And I said, well, I'm going to be talking about books that people have a question about.
How ironic.
She said, listen to this. She said, what do you mean? And I said, well, they want to take the books away, take them completely out of the library because there's something in there they don't like. And she goes, Mimi, that's silly. Why don't they just tell their kids, don't read that book?
I know.
Now, this is the smarts of
an
an 8-year-old
child. An 8-year-old child.
Yes,
Yeah.
she gets it.
Is she busy over the summer?
You mean like she could help?
This is your son that's in, yeah.
Yeah, he's in
What's
the military.
his number? I'll give him a call. See, me and Joni got an extra bedroom now that the kids have moved out.
Listen,
I know they don't want her staying with grandma because grandma's with, but I got another lady that would probably spoil her just as bad. But I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it
utterly
is.
ridiculous.
It is because, first of all, the books, when you tell someone they can't have something, it generally spurs them to be a little bit more curious anyway.
Yeah, it intrigues the curiosity.
Yes.
True.
But, chances are the books that they have taken off, they're not the most of the students wouldn't even open the books. Some of these are books that the teachers have asked them to read, to have a classroom book so that they can discuss it.
Sure.
And it's like anything. You can't take a word out of context. You have to have it so that it has meaning. I mean, you can look in the Bible and you can find bad words.
Oh.
Yes.
And as I have said from the beginning, of this situation. You know, are we going to ban the Bible? Because there's some pretty sordid stories in there. One of the girls got up a few weeks ago.
I heard her.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were at that meeting or not, and she read it. I'm surprised no one. I really was waiting for someone to hit the mute button, but they just couldn't. You know, I mean, I'm not getting this. And folks, let me explain to you. We're not talking about in my days in the '70s the hustlers and the penthouse and the playboys. Those I guess do magazines even exist like that? I guess it's all on our phone now. Anyway, and you know, I got to get my phone out of my. Oh, I can't be anywhere without my phone. Goodness gracious. You know, we're not talking about putting porn in libraries. That's not what we're talking about.
Well, and let me mention that in our libraries and the schools, we have a section, in the Dewey Decimal section is between the 200 and 299, and that's where you have books on religion and theology.
Sure.
And we have books about Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam.
Right.
You know, we have all of that for individuals who want to choose those books. We, as librarians, don't censor who reads what. Now, if I saw a first grader, for example, bring me up a thick Harry Potter book, I would probably say, you know, this looks like a really good book, but I don't think this is on your reading level, so let me have this one, and you go choose another one. There's some books in this section that I think you'll really enjoy, and sometimes I'd even go find a book and suggest it to them.
Sure.
That's the way you handle it. You don't condemn them for bringing up a book that you don't think is appropriate for their grade.
Agreed.
You help them. That's what we're there for, is to give them something that they will be interested in, that is age and grade appropriate. And I mean, that's what we're trained to do. That's what specialists do.
Well, I don't know. I had heard and have said before, and I'm being repetitious now, that one of the board members said, you know, and this is back November, December, what we need to do is we need to take a look at these books, okay? And I understand, are you going to take a look at them, or are you going to read them? I mean, we're going to look at just the inside cover and, you know, the author's notes or whatever. I'm talking about reading it from cover to cover, the entire thing.
Yeah, that keeps it in
and
context.
That takes a long time. That takes time to do, depending on how fast a reader you are and all that.
And
you know.
and see, they ask all of these media specialists, on top of all the other things in their job description, to take time after hours to read these books.
Sure.
And to make a recommendation. And then they completely overlook it. You know, what does that say when you, as a professional, have recommended something and they completely dismiss it?
I don't know. I was wondering that too. You know, why do we even go to the expense and trouble to hire these fine people if we're not going to heed their advice and say, you know, okay, well, maybe they know what they're talking about.
Right.
Why are we doing this, Judy?
Well,
I don't understand.
I've spoken 2 or 3 times
I
on
know
this
you have.
particular issue, and I've always said the very same thing. You know, you're not listening to what they're recommending. And, you know, I have to say this. I think that the board members who have been in such opposition to books need to take a look at the fact that they were elected by their constituents, by the citizens of Rutherford County, not by their church.
I think you're exactly right, because you've got a contingent of people that are loyal to a certain church or to a certain faith, and that has nothing to do with the issue whatsoever.
It certainly does not.
Right. I couldn't agree more, you know. And I mentioned a few weeks ago, I think Stephen Reynolds, you've met him before.
Yes, I know Stephen.
Yeah, he's been around. And and still is, thank goodness.
Yes.
But and my father, when he passed, we of course had a lot of his. My father was a Baptist minister, General Baptist minister, and he had a lot. I was surprised what Dad had. He had a lot of different books, and he had a copy of the Quran. Mm-hmm. And of course, translated. Of course, I was in English. I didn't read that particular language, but you know, it's amazing how most books all pretty well say the same thing. And I did not read that Quran, believe it or not.
Right.
I'm quoting someone else that said that. It's not, it doesn't preach hatred, and it preaches, tolerance and love and,
Right.
and compassion and all that. We seem to have gotten away from that, Judy.
I agree. I think if you look at our public schools, you're going to see a good sampling of the people who are in our cities, our states, and our country.
Right.
And any interaction that you have with someone who may not align with you, with their religion or something else, it helps you be a better person because you learn the things they believe. You try to understand why, and it may be very different from what you believe, but it doesn't make either one of you right or wrong. It's
Right,
just
yeah.
something that's different.
Well, a friend of mine used to be here on the air with me, Bill Wilson. And I credit Bill with this a lot. We have to agree to disagree agreeably.
Exactly.
And I don't have a problem with that. You and I are both part of the same political party. It doesn't mean we agree on every single thing.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, do we have a caller? No. Okay. But doesn't mean we part company and don't ever speak to each other again.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not, I don't know of anything we disagree on, but I'm sure there's something. I mean, heaven forbid everybody would agree with Ed Raymer on everything he believes. That would be a pretty mixed up world.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't have to agree with me, Judy, but I mean,
Well, let me give you an example of what I always
Go
did
ahead.
for kindergarten students. The first time that each class would come from kindergarten, we always talked, of course, about respect for books, respect for the people in your class, this sort of thing. That was my big rule, just respect. And I would always take two particular books. One book had a beautiful cover of butterflies and flowers and just lovely, lovely
Yeah,
things.
okay.
The other one was a solid cover. It was orange, and it just had the title. And I would hold both books up, and I'd say, now we're going to read both of those books. Which one do you think we should start with? And they always said, the ones with the butterflies. And okay,
Yeah,
so
right,
I'd read that
okay.
story,
Yeah.
and I'd say, okay, now let's read the other one. After I read the second one, they said, oh, that was the best book. And I said, well, I tend to agree with you. I think that was the best book. But you know what? We've learned a valuable lesson. You cannot judge what's
book
inside that
by
book
cover.
by the cover.
By the cover,
An old
yeah.
saying, of course. But, for me, it had a really important meaning because who knows who was sitting beside that child? Like, oh, I don't like that dress they're wearing or that shirt, And
Right.
so when you teach a young child that, it opens up their mind. And so I think a lot of the adults that we interact with could learn a lot from those kindergarten children in that book experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, and, and if you're an adult listening to us and you're listening to this right now, we don't mean to hurt your feelings. Just open up your mind a little bit, folks.
Exactly.
It's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
it's like anything. If you don't want this particular food, then just don't eat it. Or if you
Right.
don't want this to shop at this particular store, just don't shop there.
Right.
You don't have the right to infringe on everybody else in what they're doing.
True.
You can talk to them about it, about why you don't like this or why you do like it, but you can't mandate and dictate to people what they're supposed to like or not like. And that's especially true of books in the library because we're all different and our interests are different. So,
Go ahead. Let me ask you, where does this go from here? Where do we stand on this right now?
well, they have finished, at least for this calendar year, they finished the books they objected to. And they've asked the librarians to read them, and they voted on them. They took very, very few of the librarians' recommendations. Most of them, they just said, no, we're removing them from the shelves. So I don't know what their plan is as far as following up, if there will be more books that'll come up over the summer.
Right.
But I think there are lots of, not just parents, but a lot of citizens who are very concerned that this has happened. So I'm hoping that they will talk to some of these board members about how they've handled
Right.
this, so that, maybe this won't be a problem next year. I don't know. It's to be determined.
Okay.
I will now say that we're also having issues with the Rutherford County Library Board. I was been the last 2 or 3 meetings, and there are people, some of the same group, objecting to particular books on the shelf of the Rutherford County Library System.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
at one of the board meetings, not the last one, but the one before, they made a motion that said any book that dealt with transgender, whether it was in the title or in the subject matter of the book, be removed from the library. And it went to a vote, and of course the majority in this case won. So at the last board meeting, one of the board members asked to reconsider it. And it looked like they might be willing to reconsider it, but one board member in particular said, no, we need to give the audience or give citizens more time
Sure.
to respond and
Sure.
come and attend. So the June library board meeting will probably be very full.
Okay.
But
All
they're
right.
they're doing the same type of things. And the rationale is, they just don't want young people to be exposed to that. The people who were trying to be reasonable about it said, well, parents are supposed to be with their children in the public library. So if they pick up a book, the parent simply says, let's put that one back and look in another section. So,
We're going to talk about something. I'm writing it right now.
Okay.
What about the internet?
well, see, that's exactly right. The internet, their phones, anything like that, they're going to be able to search or research any topic they want. So they're not being able to remove a particular subject. Again, it goes back to just, why would you make such a big deal of something if you don't want people to be involved with it? Just let others who want to read that fine and go to another section yourself.
Okay.
Why
I'll tell you
make-
what we're going to do. We're about at the halfway point.
Okay.
I wanted to give Judy maximum yield of our time. Did we have a caller, or are they going to call back, or whatever the case
No,
is?
that was the station question about the
Oh.
app on the App Store.
I want you to stay with us, folks. Connor's going to take us to a break. If you want to call, 615-893-1450. Give us a call. Connor will put you on the air. And I'll tell you what, we're going to go to a station break. Back with you right after this. Stay with us. Hello, everyone. It's Ed with Private Investigations in Middle Tennessee. You know, if you just need someone checked out on a background check, tag them a run, or if you need someone full-fledged to follow, give us a call. You can reach me at 615-390-7219. That's 615-390-7219, or check out our website at piofmt.com. That's piofmt.com.
I felt so alone, scared, angry, full of self-pity. I just wanted to die, so I took another drink. Then I heard about AA and went to my first meeting. The people there talked about those same feelings. I was no longer alone. They gave me help to stop drinking and hope to start living. Alcoholics Anonymous. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
Go to J. Mullins Jewelers and check out their collection of reactor watches. They're located at 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And also custom-made jewelry. If you want it, they can make it for you. Also gifts for any and all occasions. Weddings, graduations, family reunions, anniversaries, all of it. That's J. Mullins Jewelers, 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Hello, everyone. It's Ed with Private Investigations in Middle Tennessee. You know, if you just need someone checked out on a background check, tag them a run, or if you need someone full-fledged to follow, give us a call. You can reach me at 615-390-7219. That's 615-390-7219, or check out our website at piofmt.com. That's piofmt.com.
I felt so alone, scared, angry, full of self-pity. I just wanted to die, so I took another drink. Then I heard about AA and went to my first meeting. The people there talked about those same feelings. I was no longer alone. They gave me help to stop drinking and hope to start living. Alcoholics Anonymous, it works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or aa.org.
Go to J. Mullins Jewelers and check out their collection of reactor watches. They're located at 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And also custom-made jewelry. If you want it, they can make it for you. Also gifts for any and all occasions. Weddings, graduations, family reunions, anniversaries, all of it. That's J. Mullins Jewelers, 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here. You like that version?
I like it.
Nice,
really
isn't it nice of the fellows to do that? Mark Riddle, thank you for listening. I have your thing here on Facebook. I love your show. I'm here. Thank you very much. You're welcome to give us a call. 615-893-1450. 615-893-1450. To let you know who this lady is, we go back a few years now. We got to know each other during the Democrat campaign for Stephen Reynolds, and
Yes.
it went from there. Let's
Right.
just leave it at that. But thank you, Mark. We appreciate it. Got a call from Jeff Neal earlier in the week. Jeff, I'm sorry I didn't give you a call back. Meant to. I'll never do, and I promise I'll try and do better at that. Judy, we've talked about books and all this. This is 1950s. Leave it to Beaver anymore.
Exactly.
Okay. What are these people? I mean, and let me ask you this way, and let expand on your answer, as long as you do what you want. Excuse me, don't let me cripple you there.
That's all right.
Like I said, we live in a different time. There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
But is this happening in other counties? Surely it is. I know it was
yes.
happening in South Carolina because Scott Pelley did a piece on 60 Minutes last year about
Right.
this. And it all turned to be much ado about nothing, and he was in a very conservative area in southern South Carolina, around Hilton Head, down in around the islands down in there. And they wound up, out of 40 books, 40-something books, they put everything back on the shelf but 2.
Okay.
And later, those two wound up going by. I mean, it was ridiculous. And all these people are conservatives.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening in some of the other
Sure.
states, but at least here in Tennessee, there are pockets of places where a group will bring forth a list of books and they, start lobbying the board members to
Yeah,
object to
right.
it.
Sure.
And that's, that's the problem. If every board member read every book that they say they object to,
Right.
then I think they would see a different outcome. Because first of all, having to read the entire book is quite an ordeal.
Yes, it is.
It's not
Right.
something that a lot of people would want to do, especially 144 of them. But if they're reading the entire book, they're taking it in context. So that would, I believe, change their mind some too.
Yeah, you had to put a little time in
Yeah, they have to have a little skin in the game.
Yeah,
They
a
have to
little
have
skin in it. I was just thinking
some
skin in the game.
ownership.
That's right.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to go back to what I said. These individual board members were elected by people in their zones, their districts.
Right.
And when they were running for school board, they were talking about making our public schools strong. They were talking about providing every opportunity for our students.
Exactly.
And that's where their focus needs to be. That's where they need to concentrate their
Right.
efforts. Right now, every time we've been to the board meetings in the last several months, they're having to cut millions of dollars from the budget. Now, if that is so important, then why are they spending all their time on something like
I know.
removing books? In
I know.
fact, they even mentioned that you're supposed to, by state law, you're supposed to have a certain number of books and materials for every child. And
Sure.
Rutherford County is under that amount because of pulling so many books. And then, of course, now what you're doing is you're questioning a library media specialist judgment when they get
I
ready
know.
to purchase new
Yeah.
materials. And see, when I would buy new materials, first of all, if a student asked about a particular author, I would research to see what books they had and if they were age appropriate, so that I would know maybe to buy some of those books.
Sure.
Also, we have professional books that give lists of different titles, different subjects, different authors, and they'll have recommendations. So that's how you purchase. You don't just say, I think I'll buy that book and this book. And,
Right,
you
right,
have rhyme and
right.
reason to it.
Sure.
So anyway, the money is not there to bring that amount up, materials and books per pupil.
We have a caller on the line.
Mr. Riddle.
Go ahead, caller. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Ed.
Yes.
Yeah, good show. You always have a good show. I do. I love your show. I just sometimes don't get tuned in till late and always hesitate to call because it interrupts good conversation.
Who am I talking to, please?
Mark Riddle.
Hey, Mark. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, except that I'm just livid with this stuff going on with the book banning. I really am.
Well, it's ridiculous, and I mean, we need to monitor what our children read. I understand that, but where do you live, Mark? Are you here in Rutherford County, or?
Oh yeah, I'm in Murfreesboro.
Okay, all right. Have you kept
Live
up
here
with this?
on South Avenue.
Okay. Have you kept up with what's going on? I'm just asking.
I kept up with it the best I can. If you remember, I called when you had a political candidate on there a few months ago, and I asked about book banning. He said, there's not going to be any book banning. And
Yeah.
I don't know if he meant just in the city as opposed to the county, because sometimes I get the city school board and the county school board confused as to who's doing what.
Understandable. Sure.
So that might have been what he meant. But anyway, this just, it'd almost be funny if it wasn't so pathetic, really.
Well, you're exactly right, and that's the reason I have Judy up here to try and bring some sanity to an insane situation.
Yeah, thank you, Judy, for being here and giving us some professional insight. It's nothing like education to cure ignorance.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. One of the times I spoke, I was talking about that very thing. I said, if you think education is expensive, just try the cost of ignorance. So,
There you
yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go. Right. I couldn't agree more.
Let me ask you a specific question while I got you here.
Sure.
What's the date of the next Rutherford County Library Board meeting?
It is June. Oh, let's see, Mark. It's either the 2nd or the 3rd. It's the first Monday in June. and I don't have my calendar in front of me, but as I recall, it will be at the Murfreesboro Library. They try to rotate throughout the system because they have a library in Smyrna and one in Laverne. So they try to take opportunity to get to those libraries while they have their meetings. So this one will supposed to be at the library. But if it's going to be super well attended, they may move it to the courthouse, which is where they had it back in, I think, March or April. So, but it is June. It's the first Monday in June, and I think it starts at 5 o'clock. But you might want to go online, the library website, and check that.
Okay. Yeah.
But I would encourage you to come, and if you feel so inclined to speak, put your name on the list, because we've had some excellent speakers who've talked about, basically what we're talking about tonight, the importance of making those materials available, and a lot of parent responsibility involved in this. I have one child, one son, and I took my job as a mother very seriously in making sure that I watched the things he did, the activities he was involved in, and we had conversations about why something, why we approved of something, or why maybe, he wouldn't want to do this. And that, I think, is what parents need to do. They don't need to be, and if I'm stepping on toes out there, I'm sorry, but they don't need to be sitting on their phone while their child is in front of the computer or on their phone, not having conversations. It's kind of ironic that we talk about social media when a lot of this has made us very antisocial, and people say things online that they would never say to someone's face. So, I think parents need to kind of back up and look at what their children are doing and how they're involved in things and have those important conversations.
Yeah, and the bad thing, too, is that there's so many people that feel like we do about this, but all we do is complain. I guess I'm guilty myself, but we need to get some folks to make sure they're voting.
Yes.
Some folks to start running against these people for office so that, we don't have a board loaded with enough to have a majority that wants to treat us like Nazi Germany. And I hate to say that, but book banning, it makes me just think about Nazi Germany.
Exactly.
You're not far off the mark, Mike. You're not.
Before long, you ban them now, burn them next week.
Right. You're exactly right. And you're right. That's the way you attack this, is by finding candidates who see the importance of having books in the library and support those candidates and try to get them elected.
And here's the thing, Mark, is to question these candidates.
Yes.
Question them and say, what do you believe in? What? No, I'm not talking about your faith now. I'm not talking about your religious issues, but, do you believe in the good old-fashioned reading, writing, and arithmetic? Do you believe in teaching a civics course, for goodness sake?
Right, civics, yes.
Yeah, and is this still a democracy, or are we going to have a few people make all the decisions for us without us really feeling like we're represented?
Right. We're on the same page here.
I believe you are, yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that some more people will really blast these boards like they did about that PRZ deal.
Yes.
Make them take it back. You get a few people calling and complaining, and somebody saying, I don't get elected next time, they might give it some thought.
I agree.
But this is scary because I see this as a microcosm of the state and then the country in terms of, democracy slipping away.
True.
It just scares me, and I'm thinking we've got to make a stand. We cannot just all sit by and gripe about it as
right.
we lose those freedoms that we used to have.
Yes.
Well, Mark, that's what we try to do here every week. It's the reason I do it, and I appreciate to know you're out there, because there are so many people that I bump into at the grocery store or at the supermarket, wherever it may be. Oh, yeah, I've seen you on TV, or and then get mixed up, and they are following the show, but I don't know a lot of you folks are there. And it's good to hear from you, and I thank you, and I thank you for reaching out on Facebook, and I'd certainly appreciate your call. Really do.
Yes. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Yes,
we appreciate it.
Great points. Thank you.
Isn't that great? I'm telling you, it's good to hear from people like Mark.
It is.
Thank
it's
you,
encouraging.
Mark.
And I think there are so many people who think that. They just don't always want to, put
They're
themselves
a
out
bit
there.
shy. I
They're a
know.
bit
Yes,
shy,
some
yeah.
people are. It doesn't sound like Mark is. I think he's about had his belly full. It sounds. We've got another caller. Let's go. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Miss Beasley, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Miss Raymer, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Is this Jeff?
It's Jeff.
I spent all weekend at the ball field, so please excuse the dust on me.
Okay.
Ball field,
Jeff, I got your call earlier in the week on something in the paper, and I picked up a paper, and the thing was 4 days old. It's still ain't
well,
it.
you know how news it travels real fast. It travels so fast. That was the speed of light. The news does.
I'm telling you. What's on your mind?
I saw where they finally nixed the parents zone. I guess everybody got kind of bad and screamed. We don't know. I'm going to do that for a while. I don't know what else we can do.
You mean about the bus situation?
The bus situation. I saw where they kind of pulled it. I guess they're not going to do it for a year. I don't think.
Well, I think some of the things that people have begun to realize is that, yes, it is expensive to have a lot of extra buses and to have the drivers, but you have the safety of the children. And so many of the schools do not have sidewalks. They may have them right in front of a school,
Right.
but they don't have them in a neighborhood. And you can't endanger a child's life.
You try it, like guys said on Twitter. Try walking down Highway 99.
Oh, I know. There's
Oh, Lord.
no safe places.
Ain't no sidewalks over there.
No, there are no safe places like that. And
There
we
ain't no sidewalk on Highway 99. Have you seen one in Edward Lee?
no.
Have not. No.
No, and
There might have been one 5 minutes ago. I ain't seen one over there.
one of the things also, Jeff, is that this will impact so many people who they live in Rutherford County, but they may work outside of the county, and they have to leave early to get to work on time, and their children, they can't allow them to stay at home and then walk to school. They have to take them. So
One thing I want to ask y'all, the only what I want to tell you, when I called you, I know Miss Beasley, you talked about this a lot. I know you're another name now, but
that's okay. I still go by Beasley too.
Yeah, the school prayer thing.
Yes.
There was complaint about it, and they told them when they put it in, the night they voted, that attorney for the city told them,
Yes.
if you do this, and somebody complains, what is it going to cost the county? Like $100, and now they've got this ACLJ that's going to give them the free counsel.
Yes.
Oh, I wouldn't worry about the ACLJ too much.
I just read that in the news. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I know, but you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, the
Yeah.
ACL, that's that guy over at Brentwood. He's hung around that bunch of Republicans, and
what
yeah.
it is, the guy that started was the CBN guy, Pat Roberts. That's what it is.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about having a prayer in school, as I mentioned before, in our libraries, we have a religious section which includes Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam. You cannot have a Christian prayer when you have residents and students in a school who subscribe to a different religion.
I'm talking about before the school board.
I know, but at the same time,
Oh, I agree.
they just don't need to have. They need to do a moment of silence. People can go to their house of worship for their prayers whenever they want to go. They don't need to do it in a public entity.
When we were in school, we had the Pledge of Allegiance. We had the moment. We had a
Moment of silence, exactly, and it worked fine.
It worked fine. Nobody complained.
Right.
Nobody said anything about it. Nobody said that.
You're exactly right, Jeff.
Before I get off there, she knows I done told her already. She knows about public school not being funded. But this woman right here, I'm gonna tell you, she's one of the best. And she wasn't like a regular, one of the best teachers. Things I ever had to come tell you.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate
I'll tell you
that.
right now, she's one of the best women. I can list about probably 4 or 5 on my hand, and she's one of them.
Well, Jeff, I want to tell you something. That makes me feel awfully. I'm going to tell you right now. It makes me feel good. And I'm going to tell you what makes me feel good. To know that you actually attended school.
I know.
Don't let him talk to you like that, Jeff.
I mean, 2 and 2's 10. I don't know what 2 and 2 is. 2 and 2's 10. We all know it. I ain't attend no school. One day, when you call me up one day, I'll tell you the Grundy County joke. I'll tell you real good. We can't say on this, sir.
Okay, no, let's stay away from the Grundy County joke.
I was going to tell you, I got about 5 on my hand, and she's one of the best ones that ever had it. You talk about public schools, and you know this. if you fund them right, you're gonna get it done. That's about it.
Exactly.
You know it. Everybody knows. So,
Yes.
y'all have a good week and everything. Enjoy the show. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Neal. I'll tell you. You taught Jeff?
I did.
Well, you didn't teach him very well. Anyway,
I did.
Jeff is a supporter of this station.
He is a supporter of
He
public schools too.
He's a contributor to some of our newspapers in town, and I appreciate him so much. He has been a follower of this broadcast, and I'm very much appreciative of him. And his
He has
efforts.
a real heart for public schools.
He
So
really
I appreciate
does.
that.
He
Yes.
really does.
He does.
Yeah. I sincerely, and I ask, and thank you, caller. Thank you, all of you. Mark, thank you again. And all of you that listen, and I run into you. I bump into you all the time, and I've always got people, hey, who you going to have on Sunday night? I don't know. Well, you have to just listen in. Hey, and you're getting your money's worth tonight, right? And here's the thing, Judy, for those of us, that are older, those that are younger couples, this is not exciting stuff. It's not sexy. It's not. If you have children in school, though, this is important.
It's very important. Well, because
It's
our
part
public
of what's going on. I mean,
and our public schools accept every student. That's why I've had such a problem with this issue of charter schools and vouchers, because they're very selective. Every child who comes to a public schools,
Exactly.
whatever their level
I
of
know it.
ability, the teachers are going to meet that, and they're going to have programs designed to help them, whether it is having a psychologist, special education,
Right.
speech language. They're going to be able to help those students. And part of me, the cynical part, says that's why public schools have been attacked at the federal level, because they're trying to make it seem like we're not doing an effective job, because they want to take some of that, the money, the resources, and move it elsewhere. And this thing about vouchers, 99 or 95%, maybe more than 95, of the people who are going to try to make use of a voucher have never been in a public school. Their students have always been in a private school. So it's
or they've
not,
been in homeschool.
or homeschool. It's not going to benefit children who have been in public schools, because when they go to try to use their voucher, they're going to say, oh, well, you need speech therapy and we don't offer that, or you need to have an IEP and we don't offer that. So they send
That's
them right
exactly
back to
right.
their local public school with less funding.
That's right.
And so that's one of the reasons that we as professional educators have been so upset about the voucher
Well, and
system.
this is another thing, and Mayor Carr was right about this, and I saw this. When that money is apportioned for that child to go to that school, now a month later the parents say, "Hey, this ain't working out." They pull their child out. Does that money get
No,
refunded?
the money
No.
does not go back to the
And
public
Mayor
schools.
Carr, I must say, he brought that point up and said, "What happens to our taxpayers? What
Right.
happens to that money?
Exactly.
It's gone."
Yep.
And I think it's nothing more. You hear the word a lot in politics, power grab. I think this is a money grab more than anything.
It is.
I really do.
It is.
And Bill Lee, that governor of ours, of y'all's, has opened the door to it by standing there and laughing along with a man that called the teachers of Tennessee. You have the correct word. I don't remember that.
I don't remember. It was very derogatory.
It was derogatory,
Very
as
derogatory.
all get out. And that's just, the man just sat there and told a blatant lie, because, our kids went to public school. I have no complaints. We've had, you have issues come up in public school. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
But some of you people are wanting you're wanting a perfect world.
Well,
And it doesn't exist. You've never lived the life of a teacher. Let me tell you something. I go by schools. I told my wife just the other night, I guarantee you drive by some schools at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, you'll see a teacher's car out there.
Exactly. Or if they are at home, they're making phone calls to parents, or they're doing
That's exactly right.
text or anything to let them know what's happened and what
Exactly.
they can expect as a homework assignment or whatever.
Right.
There's just so many demands on our educators these days.
And not to mention emails and all that, too.
Right.
You know.
Well, I was talking to someone the other day, and I gave them kind of an estimate of what the beginning salary is for teachers. And they said, are you kidding? We could make more at a fast food restaurant. Now, that says a lot.
It says a great, It says something's troubling.
Yes.
Is what it says. And I'm telling you right now, I have teachers that say, if I ask you, what would you do, if you had a child to rear and to raise up and do this, don't be a teacher. It's terrible.
It's unfortunate.
Because teaching is a profession, just like architecture, just like the law, just like medical degrees.
Sure.
It's a profession. And by the way, we have some PhDs, and Frank Lambert is one of those in our community that teaches at MTSU, by the way, who's nobody's, fuzzy-headed fair guy out here. I mean, he takes a logical look at the world,
right.
not through foggy-coated lenses either. I mean, he looks at it just like me and you do.
Right.
I mean, this is, and I've told Rob Mitchell sitting right there in that chair where you're at, if I got to pay some more taxes so my kids don't grow up stupid, then so be it.
Well,
it's the reason my wife and I were here, because of the school system.
Right.
I've told you 100 times.
Yeah. We talk about the value of our children, and we talk about it, but we don't put the money where we talk. We have to make sure that we have qualified teachers in the classroom, and we have a lot of people who would like to do that, but we have to support them and show respect. So let me just say, any teachers who are out there listening, you have the hardest job, and I give you my total respect and admiration for what you do, and I beg you to keep doing it.
Judy Whitehill's been our guest tonight on the Ed and Lee Raymer Show. I'm Ed Raymer with you, and I'm going to tell you what, we're going to go out right now. I want you to stay tuned here to WGNS. I thank you all for your support. I thank our sponsors. I appreciate you so much, Judy. Thank you again for doing this on a Sunday night.
My
Happy
pleasure.
Mother's Day, by the way.
Thank you.
To all the moms, I apologize. I forgot that at the top of the thing, and I wrote it down. But with that, I'm going to say this is Ed Raymer for the Ed and Lee Raymer Show. Thanks again, Judy. I appreciate you. And until next Sunday night at 8 o'clock, I'll catch you down the road. Good night. Go to J. Mullins Jewelers and check out their collection of reactor watches. They're located at 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And also custom-made jewelry. If you want it, they can make it for you. Also gifts for any and all occasions. Weddings, graduations, family reunions, anniversaries, all of it. That's J. Mullins Jewelers, 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.